ask that because of this president's history with Scott Sutton. So I just wonder if you guys had those talks and if there's an assurance that you'll be here next season.
I haven't talked about any of that. I'm just focused on our team and trying to get better each time we step on the floor and win the next game we play.
Right.
So I'm not aware of anything else. So I don't know. Like, if people are talking, I'm not hearing it. So
They are.
you know, that's okay. All I can do is all I can do and focus on my team and giving them the maximum effort I can give them and move forward every day and try to keep them connected and stay in the fight. And that's honestly my focus every day. It's what I've done everywhere I've been. I just want to do the best I can. I can't control anything else.
So if you're now, I guess, aware that there is that kind of chatter, does it anger you? Does it motivate you? Does it?
God's got a plan for my life, right? So the Bible is really clear about fear and anxiety. You can choose faith or fear. So I'm not afraid of any consequence that I could receive. And I really believe this. I've been fired before, and if that happens, then I deserve what I get, right? Like you lose your job because you haven't done what you were expected to do, and if that happens, then that's on me. And the only thing I can do is focus on what I can control, and that's giving those kids everything I got every day, because that's what I ask from them.
Right.
So that's all I'm focused on.
So, like, when you got up 20 at one point, do you think there's something to be said for maybe, because there's a skill to playing from ahead too, right?
Mm-hmm.
That maybe they just got kind of rusty on playing with that kind of a lead, maybe, and maybe they relaxed a little bit.
Well, I think part of what happened is we're trying to get into longer possessions. And they did a good job taking McBride out, and that's obviously disruptive at times. And again, we had a lineup on the floor to try to minimize what they were doing on the other end of the floor that put us in some different situations. So I think that's part of what you saw. We still have to get better at timely shots, right? Like, I thought Jalen Miller took a 3 with 10 seconds left on the shot clock. It wasn't a good shot, right? Sam Alajiki ends up in the paint. I'd prefer those shots at that time because you're in a high foul area. And I believe we were in a double bonus for a while. So that's something we just have to continue to work on.
So was the locker room like really happy or somewhat happy or relief?
They were happy. I mean, obviously you participated in sports, you know what it's like. I think anybody that's played any type of game and you go through a stretch where you're not winning, when you win, and you're happy that you won. And I think the main thing, and I heard when I was walking into the locker room, and I'm glad to hear this, is like, hey, on to the next. Because we'll learn from this, what do we do well, what do we need to get better at moving forward, and then get ready for the next one. So, I mean, you'd have to ask them in terms of, hey, are you relieved? They wasn't like there were water bottles flying around and guys being drowned in water, but, obviously it does feel good to be on this side instead of the other side.
We saw it in football season, like TCU was in the championship game a couple of years ago, and then they've evened out quite a bit since then, and Arkansas was in the Elite Eight against you guys. Oh my Lord. Yeah, and then what are they, 1-6 or whatever? They've been in the SEC this year with Calipari. So do you think this is kind of emblematic to some extent of the unpredictability of college athletics now?
I wish I had a factual answer, because I do think there's a lot that goes into play. I mean, I don't know what happened in the Duke-Carolina game. It was on in the locker room, and the score at one point certainly looked like Duke was up, I don't remember, 20-something. And, you see, all right, I'll change it. Let's say Miami, right? They were in the Elite Eight. Right? And I don't know what their record was, but Coach Larinaga decides I'm done, right? I think other coaches have done that before the season started based on the change in the landscape of college athletics. I don't know if
Tony Bennett said, I'm gone.
And I don't know if anybody has a real answer. I mean, I was listening to a coach earlier today, and he said, people keep saying the kids have changed. And his comment was, the kids haven't changed. It's the people around the kids. And it's a different level of accountability than, what other people are accustomed to. Bill, I wish I knew the answer. I think we're all adjusting to something that's a lot different. I know for me, being in the business for a long time, this is a lot different than any other time I can remember, where you can just transfer whenever you want. But there's a lot, and I think you're managing a lot of things that you wouldn't have to manage the same way in the past.